Our third speaker is Dr. Frank Kaufmann. He's the president of the Settlement Project, our host today. And Frank's worked in the area of religion and peace for over 40 years, including Gulf War negotiations, the Israel-Palestine conflict, India and Kashmir, Eritrea and Ethiopia, revolutionary centers of southern Philippines, Sri Lanka, and elsewhere. We'll get you some tickets to Venezuela, Frank. Uh, I just wanted to mention that he put out the interfaith journal Dialogue and Alliance, which was named one of the top 10 religion journals out of 650. And he was nominated for the Guru Nanak Interfaith Prize and was edged out by the Dalai Lama. So that's a close second. Let's welcome Dr. Frank Kaufmann.
Thank you very much, Keith. Keith, thank you for moderating this. I really love your style. It's magnificent. Uh, it's a real joy for me to be with Louise and Patricia. My heart fills up. I love you and miss you, so it's just a personal joy. But also, we're really grateful because this event is one of the biggest in our lifetimes, and the opportunity so soon after the extraction of Maduro to be with Venezuelans of righteous heart and of deep commitment and of American patriots is a real blessing for us. Otherwise, many of us would have no way to be with close to the to Venezuelan people. So this is really a gift for us from you, and we're very thankful. Also thankful for all the work you've done over the years to support the work of the Settlement Project. I'll say just a few words. Uh, it's not my area of expertise, so I'll keep it somewhat brief, and hopefully we'll have time for questions also. Um, this the extraction of Maduro and Celia is probably it is probably the biggest thing President Trump has ever done. And he's a guy who does more big things before I have my breakfast every day. I mean, he's been a roller coaster from the first second he took office, and he just shatters whole China shops day by day. And despite that, I believe this extraction may well be the single biggest thing he's ever done. He's a person who um, has somehow there's a type of human being that his very existence causes them to go mad. Just his existence just makes people uh, fall into madness. They wanted to impeach him for holding his water glass with two hands at West Point. Um, if holding a water glass with two hands is deeply troubling to you, using an entire United States military force to gently and carefully carry two people in their pajamas to the United States is going to just he somehow um, this one. So if you've already disliked him for that, you'll definitely dislike him for kind of doing more than what ordinarily happens in an average world war. I saw the extraction of Maduro as it's kind of he fought World War III, and there were a total of 70 deaths and the gentle extraction of a genuine villain. But the amount of military and intelligence collaboration was was greater than whole wars, even whole wars that last for years. He did in a single moment. He risked everything in his life to make that decision, and now we have a situation that has brought great relief and great joy to the people of Venezuela. But there is a tremendous amount of opposition to him as a person, and so that will naturally come to play here. one of the truths is that if you do something good, you will be opposed. Anyone who ever does anything good will be opposed. And there's three types of opposition which happen every time anyone does something good. One is you'll be opposed by evil forces, or evil spiritual world, or the devil, or how yeah, evil will oppose people doing good. Um, that that includes people who benefit from anti-human, disorderly, oppressive structures. They destroy lives. They rob. They rape. They are corrupt. They leave. They imprison. They torture, and so on. People who have somehow become possessed of this level of inhumane spirit, they will oppose all acts for good. The second type of people the second type of opposition to actions for good will be those who are misled in some way. Their thinking is wrong, and so based on misunderstanding of the goodness, or odd choices, they will oppose your work. So, for example, if one could describe some of the goodness that this extraction resulted in. Venezuela is responsible for hundreds of thousands of drug deaths in the United States. Hopefully, the imprisonment of Maduro and follow-up in Venezuela, hopefully this will save tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands of lives. That is a great good. But there are people who find that the protection of national sovereignty, according to UN regulations and laws, this violation is untenable, unacceptable. It's a violation of. So they have an orientation towards goodness that somehow misses hundreds of thousands of young lives, young beautiful lives, to drug overdoses, and have more of a concern over uh, the finer points of international law. Uh, uh, it's they're correct. It is a concern, the finer points of international law, but possibly another thing that happened with the extraction of Maduro, the release of political prisoners in Venezuela, people who suffered unjustly, starved to death, raped in prisons, people disappeared, assassinated, killed. The the conditions in Venezuela, the wealth of Venezuela was sunk into the sand. The mismanagement of the greatest wealth in the world was robbed from the people of Venezuela and robbed from the American companies that invested there and tried to build up and bring wealth to the. There's a massive rack of goodness that can be described, but there will be those who will find wrong with the act over some legitimate complaints, but out of balance complaints. So this is a second type of opposition. They're not evil. It doesn't come from the realm. It does come from the realm of evil, but they're not evil, but they're misguided. Their foundation of thinking clearly is misguided. You will have that opposition. And finally, there will be opposition of people who agree with what you've done, but disagree with the way you've done it. And they will oppose you. In Trump's history, rhinos are like that. They think that he's a little impolite, or he shouldn't tweet, or this is like they agree with his pursuit of his political agenda. They don't like the way he does it. So I just wanted to quickly just for some of the good that comes from the extraction of Maduro is one of the things is it's a demonstration of U.S. military power that's very necessary at this juncture. A lot of military powers in the world, especially China, are feeling very emboldened. It's very delicate in the South China Sea, and to observe the political brilliance and command of the U.S. Army, it will cause military opponents to think twice. The disruption of narco terror disruption, the possibility to return to Venezuela, the flourishing of its oil reserves, uh, and and then for people who are very close to the news, they know a lot of behind the scenes matters. For example, the oil that's being transported, the trilateral cooperation between Russia, Iran, and Venezuela, all of these things, it's possible that it is not merely just an act regarding Venezuela, but it's an act regarding the entire global international superstructure of the confrontation of good and evil. So that's just a list of the good. There's a there Since I don't want to go long, there's just two things I want to point out. Um, one is that there is a genuine question about national sovereignty and stable global order. We want every last thing that has been accomplished by this miracle of military courage, competence, President Trump's massive leadership as commander in chief. I said we want every bit of good to happen, but we don't want everybody who thinks that some leader is bad for their people to kind of do that. People say that it's a threat to the stable world order. It's something to ponder, something to consider. Although I'd say do it 1,000 times and 1,000 times again. I'm not arguing that it shouldn't be done. It's just things that have to be considered. Um, the the last thing I'll point out and ask us to collectively worry about is um, oh, I lost that thought. That'll come back to me. Let me just see if I can find it in notes. Oh yeah, yeah. The follow-up of a of a foreign culture trying to rebuild a domestic culture is very, very difficult. Americans, no matter how great we are, cannot rebuild Venezuela as we're not an occupying force, but in a certain way, we are an occupying force. There's going to be all these oil magnates. Yes, they're great, they're wonderful, but they don't know Venezuela. They never will. They'll not have grown up the way Luis is. They're different people than the Venezuelans. How do we bring this thing safely forward? This is my real concern. And because this is a prayer group. And as both Patricia and Luis have mentioned, it's not going to be easy going forward. The path forward is fraught with dangers on to the left and to the right. It's going to be a long and difficult rebuilding, and it's going to have invitations of every kind of difficulty, politically, culturally, economically, to rebuild the crumbling oil infrastructure there, sabotage in the workplace, and so forth. So all of us really need to pray because there must ultimately be Venezuelans at the top of the reconstruction of Venezuela. And there must ultimately be Americans who somehow have the sensitivity and the humility and the capacity to bring all of our goodness, all of our competence, all of our wealth and strength, but somehow never overrun the indigenous classical culture of Venezuela known only by Venezuelans. Okay, those are just some thoughts, and I do thank you for the time to make comment. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks very much, Dr. Kaufman. A lot to think about.